everyone, this is Ellen, and today I am making my crocheted version of the Armenian eternity sign. That's what it looks like right there. While I was researching some of my own Armenian ancestry, I quickly fell in love with it and wanted to crochet it. It is a very ancient symbol of the Armenian people, symbolizing everlasting celestial life. Love it. I just think it's beautiful. However, I could not find any crocheted patterns out there that I liked, so I decided to design my own. And I think it came out pretty nice. A lot of trial and error, but I really liked the way it turned out, so I figured I'd share it with you all. I think it can make a nice coaster, like this one, the smaller one, for wine glasses. This one that's finished a little bit differently makes a good wall hanging. I've even put it into a square so I can join with others for another project. So, it's pretty versatile. I'd love to see what you come up with. Keep in mind, though, that it's not a beginner pattern because it is a little bit fidgety. However, if you are a beginner and you want to follow along, then I absolutely think you can do it. Just know that you might have to make several attempts and be okay with that. The stitches used here are really simple. All you need to know how to do is a slip stitch, a single crochet, and of course how to chain as well. The trick really is that we're working in specific portions of the stitch, like the back loop only, and we'll get into that. So it can be a little dicey, but if you hang in there, it'll get easy, and it's fairly easy when you know how to do it. So what you will need for this project is any size yarn, and the corresponding hook size, of course. Just remember that the thicker the yarn, the larger the hook you use, and the larger your eternity symbol will be. For example, these two pieces are the same size yarn. It's like an 8/4 yarn from Hobby. And this was a size 4mm hook, and this is a 3.25mm hook. So big difference there, just with a slight variation in this size of the hook. Today, I'm going to be using some leftover worsted weight yarn that I have and a 6mm crochet hook there. I don't know if you can see that 6mm there. And you will also need a stitch marker. It's really important. And of course, some scissors to finish your work and an embroidery needle as well. Anyway, let's begin here now that you've got all your tools. I'm going to start with my yarn, and the first thing we want to do, and hopefully I have enough yarn here for, this is going to be a trick. I wanted to use this yarn up, and so let's see. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start with a magic circle. You could also chain 4 and make a circle that way, but I'm going to start with a magic circle because I like using the magic circles. So I'm not really going to be getting into how to make a magic circle. You can see what I'm doing. There's different techniques to making a magic circle. There's many videos on YouTube on how to make a magic circle. But anyway, I've made my circle. And into this circle, I am going to work 8 single crochets around the circle. So you all know how to make a single crochet. So that'll be my first single crochet here. And I don't want to single crochet too tightly. I want to be able to find the stitches again. So that's 2. And there's 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Okay, so I have made 8 single crochets around. And what I like to do at this point is count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to make sure that I have 8, but also to easily find that last stitch that I want to go into. So in here, I'm going to go into that last stitch to join. So the first stitch is always a little hard to get into. Okay, which is why I say it's a good idea to crochet a little bit loosely here. Okay, so now I'm going to slip stitch to join. And I'm going to pull my tail to close the ring. Okay, I've finished my first row. I'm going to chain one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 2 single crochets into each of the stitches around. So I'm going to do the first stitch into the where I put the join. So that's 1 single crochet. Again in that same stitch. So I've got 2 single crochets into that first stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the second stitch, two single crochets in the third, 2 single crochets in the fourth, two single crochets in the fifth, two single crochets in the sixth, two single crochets in the seventh, and 2 single crochets in the eighth. So that of course should leave us with 16 stitches. Okay, and I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep. And then I'm going to slip stitch to join. Now I'm going to pull that tail again. Pretty. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the first leg. I call these arms, actually. And I'm going to make the first arm. And how to make the first arm is first thing you want to do is chain 17. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And now this is a chain that you're probably very familiar with, and you're probably familiar with the fact that when you turn the chain over to the side a little bit, you see these little humps. See these little bumps on the side? See there's like a bump there, and a little bump there, bump there. I want to be working into those little bumps. Okay, I don't want to be working in the regular chain that I normally do. So I'm going to turn it this way, and I want to work into the second hump from the hook, which is this one. I'm going to insert my hook into that second. So the first one's always the hardest, then it gets easier after that. And I'm going to work 2 single crochets into that first little hump of the chain. And now I'm going to go into the second hump and work 1 single crochet. Okay, 1 single crochet there. And then into the next hump, 1 single crochet. And that's essentially the pattern that I'm going to do mostly down the arm here. I'm going to do 2 in 1 stitch, followed by 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So in this hump right here, I'm going to do 2 single crochets, which is essentially an increase. You're increasing it right there. And then I'm going to do 1 in the next. Oops. 1 and 1. And then I'm going to put 2 in the following stitch. Again, that increase. 1, 2, followed by 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. That's 1. 1. And then I'm going to put 2 here. Oops. Sometimes these humps can be a little bit tricky, but they're worth it because you get a really nice line. I'll show you at the end here. 1, 2, and then single crochet, single crochet, and then 2, 1, 2, and now we're towards the end here, and I should have 3 humps left, and in those last 3 I'm going to put 1 single crochet in each of those remaining stitches. 1, 2, and then finally the last little hump here. Okay, so now that I've started my first arm, I'm going to anchor it into my little circle here, into the first open stitch, and I'm going to anchor that with a single crochet, like so. Now I'm going to turn the work, and I'm going to place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches down the arm, or say up the arm. The trick here is that we're going to do it into the back loop only. Okay, so like normally, for example, we'd put it into this stitch, right? And there's 2 loops here. There's 1, 2. I'm not going to go into both loops. I'm only going to go into the one in the back here. See how I did that? I went to the back loop, and I'm going to do a single crochet. And that creates like a little line in front, a little ridge, which has a nice effect. So again, not into the normal stitch. I'm going to go behind the first loop and into the second one, the back loop, and work my single crochet. And that's 2. Back loop, single crochet. That's 3. Back loop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet. You know, if it helps to turn the work a little bit this way to see the top, so you see the V and go into that back loop. Once you get the hang of this project and working into back loops, then you just sort of know where to put it. You don't really have to look. And But, you know, if you're a beginner and you're not used to this, then this really could be the fidgety part. This and, of course, working in those humps, those little bumps of the chain. Those can be pretty harrowing. I know when I was first learned how to do that, I was very frustrated and didn't like working in those bumps. But the nice thing about working those bumps is that, you know, like this is my chain and this was my chain. Because I worked in those bumps, I've got this really nice, pretty looking chain here. The edge of it is a very nice look, which ends up being sort of important, I think, in the final product. So it does make a difference. It's also easier to work other rows into if you're working on that kind of project. I'm not going to be working into it with this project again, however. I just want to have a nice clean look, which is why. I mean, if you want to, you could just not work in the back humps, but I really, you know, I tried this project several different ways, and this really is the way that things look nice. So it's worth making the extra effort. All right, so there's back hoop, single crochet, back hoop, single crochet, back hoop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet, and finally one more back loop, single crochet. Now here's where you want to count. Make sure you've got 21 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Is there not 21? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You know, I may have not started in the right place. Froggy, froggy, froggy. Okay. Let's make sure that I actually have 21 down here. I should have counted here. Don't count the top of the single crochet. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, so I must have skipped a stitch. And this is why it's really important to always count. It's just because if you don't, you do a bunch of work. It can get to be frustrating. Just like I didn't count that and I had to frog. So learn from my mistake. I'm not going to edit this. You're going to see what I did. Okay, so I need to start in the very, 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 very first. I think I skipped this before. First back loop. Okay. And now I'm going to go down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This yarn's a little bit fidgety, honestly. Can't really tell you what it is. It's just in my stash. I think it's a cotton or a cotton acrylic blend. And I don't really know what company it is. I've lost the packaging. I just wanted to use it up. And I really hope that I have enough to make this project. This is going to be interesting. I guess this is a little bit of yarn chicken. We'll see how it goes. And just keep doing 1 single crochet into each stitch, up the arm, until we get all the way to the end. Always, always important to count. Case in point. Okay. Now we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yep. We need 21 stitches down the arm. Now what we do, now that we're at the upper end of the yarn, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and do the exact same thing down the line. We're going to put 1 single crochet into the back loop and another single crochet into the next back loop, and all the way down the arm we're going to put 1 single crochet all the way down the arm. I'm going to pause the video and meet you back here when we get down to the circle. Okay, so I have worked 21 stitches down the arm in the back loops, and now I'm ready to anchor it back into this original wheel. So I'm going to find the next open stitch right here, and I'm going to place a single crochet there. And now I have finished my first leg. Yay! So now I need to make legs 2 through 8, and there's going to be a little bit of a difference on how we make them. Actually, legs 2 through 7 are all going to be the same, and then the 8th leg will be a little bit different again. So let's show you what legs 2 through 7 look like. It's going to start off just the same as the other with chaining 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. I like to not do too tight of a chain so that I can more easily get into these humps. Now, at this point, I'm going to take my hook out, and I'm going to look at these humps, and there's the first one, and I'm going to go into that second hump right there, and see that second hump, and I'm going to place a stitch marker into it. I'm going to place a stitch marker into that second hump. And I'm going to do that just so I know where it is, because it can easily get lost with what I'm about to do. And I want to know where that is. So I'm going to put my hook back in here. And at this point, I'm going to join this leg to the other one. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to lift it up. I'm holding this. And I'm going to count. And I'm not going to start in this stitch where I want to start in the first open stitch right here. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want to count 10. I'm going to insert my hook into that 10th stitch, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch these two together. Not too tightly, not too loosely, just right. So I'm going to slip stitch there. And I've attached this chain to the first leg. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work. And this is where the stitch marker comes in really handy, because if I didn't have the stitch marker here, it could very likely get lost and it'd be hard to see, especially if I was working with a thinner yarn. This yarn, I might not need it, but anyway, because I want to insert my hook right into this hump, and I want to make it easy to find, hence the stitch marker. So I'm going to work a single crochet. Oops, not a slip stitch. That was an accidental slip stitch. All right, let's do that again. I'm going to work a single crochet right here. And now I'm going to remove the stitch marker. And I'm going to work another single crochet into that same stitch that I just worked into. And now I'm going to continue with that same pattern that we worked before, where we did this increase, the 2 stitches in 1 stitch, and now we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next hump and 1 single crochet in the next hump, creating this nice edge there. So I've done the increase, 2 stitches with 1 single crochet each. Now I'm going to do another increase. And one little trick that I do here, just to sort of keep myself from messing up, is I say in my mind, increase 1, 2, increase 1, 2. So I say in for the first single crochet, and then crease for this, crease for the second, and then 1, 2. See what I did there? It's just a little trick. So my brain, I'm like, I just did 1, 2, so now I need an increase. In, crease, crease in the same stitch. 1, 2. In, crease, 1, 2. In, crease. What is this? Oh my gosh, really? This yarn has a knot in it? Oh, and I don't even know the name of the brand to complain about them. Oh, let's see what happens. I think I just did an increase, right? Did I? I can check by removing one, see if I still have one in the stitch. I do, okay. Ay. I don't know what. Let's see. In, crease, 1, 2. All right, it's sort of hidden. Maybe it'll work. And then I did increase 1, 2, and then there's always an extra one. Like when I first showed you the first time, there were 3. Anyway, so there's still 1 extra chain to work into, and I'll do my 3rd single crochet right there. And now I'm going to anchor it into the next open stitch in the ring. Single crochet. All right, I should have 21 up the arm, and you see how it's attached here? Let me count. All right, I'm not going to count the first single crochet. I'm going to count the second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. There is that final 21 stitch here. Because it's a little bit, I told you this pattern gets a little bit fidgety. This last stitch sometimes gets sort of lost. So I'm just going to open it up so that it's easier to find when I get to it. Okay, because I'm going to get to it. I'm going to go back up the arm. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to turn my work. And I'm going to work 1 single crochet into each of the back loops, just like we did before, up the arm, until I get to the end. And it's going to all be in the back loop only. Sort of gives it a nice texture, nice dimension. for this project. So only in the back loops. And it does get easier the more you do it. I'm finding that this yarn is a little bit fidgety, and that knot, that was fun. I think, you know, because this project really does have a good side and a back side. I mean, they're both pretty. I mean, don't get me wrong, but there is a better side. And it is used as sort of a coaster or wall hanging or what have you. So I think it's okay. I'm just going to let that little knot slide. If this was a super special piece and I was gifting it to somebody, I would not do that. But since this is really just a, really I'm just using it to make this video. And I wanted to use up some yarn I have. So I'm going all the way down the arm until I get to 21. And I will count when I get to the end to make sure, because like I showed you before, that one stitch at the end is a little bit tight. You can avoid that by chaining there before making that stitch, but I kind of like the look of not chaining before the stitch, so I'm going to do it this way. But you know, if you want to modify this pattern, if you find a better way to do something, then go for it. Let me get to that back loop. All right. Let's see. I don't know if that's a stitch there or not. It's one way to know though is to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So it's not a stitch. Counting is always a good idea. Okay. So now that I've gotten to the end here, I'm going to chain 1, turn, work, and go into the back loop of the first stitch and work a single crochet just like we did before. I mean, this really is just like the first arm in every way except for the part where we join. That's the fidgety part. Okay, but that's really, otherwise it's all the same thing. I'm just going to do one single crochet into each of the stitches, down the arm, toward the beginning circle. I'm going to join it with a single crochet when I get there. And then each of the remaining arms up until arm 7 is going to be exactly the same. The last arm number 8, will be slightly different. So what I'm going to do is after working this arm, I'm going to pause the video and let you work arms 3 through 7, and then we'll meet again to do 8. But I'm going to finish this arm with you now. Hopefully this is all making sense. You know, it's funny. I wrote this pattern about 4 years ago, and I had not made anything since. I haven't made any of these Armenian eternity signs since. And I kind of forgot how to do it. And when I looked at my own pattern that I wrote back then, I was like so confused. And, but then I worked it, made a few corrections here and there, and now it all makes sense to me again. So it's like riding a bike. Really, it's like, you know, it's hard for the first minute or so, or hour maybe, if you've never done it before. But once you get the hang of it, it gets really easy. And it's not a hard pattern. Again, it's just single crochet and slip stitches and chains. But you have to put everything in the right place. And that's where it gets tricky. So there's one last there. Okay, this should be 21. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yep. And then, of course, we will single crochet into the next open stitch. Now, how you know this is an open stitch is that the one before it, like if I pull, You see how the stitch is being pulled up? It's because there's something in it. There's something anchored to it. So I want to go to the next stitch that's not being pulled. That's one trick on how to know where the next stitch is. Go into single crochet, chain 17, do exactly what I did in this last arm, and I'm going to work around that way. Now, is this where that, now this is where that knot was. And I'm wondering, is this going to be a problem, this knot? Or can I kind of sort of hide it into the thing? Yeah, I think I can hide it. I think I might put this on my wall and we won't see it. But you see how, like, because we worked in the back loops, when we look at the sides of the, and the side here of the leg, we're seeing a nice chain. We're not seeing that weird lacy thing that you get when you don't work into the back loop. And that's why we do it, is to really give it a nice finished look. Okay, so you keep working arms 3 through 7 in the exact same way. If you need a reminder on how to work these arms, you can just rewind this video a little bit and watch it over and over and over again. You will get the hang of it. And I will see you at the beginning of arm number 8. Okay, welcome back. Ready to make arm number 8. Now you'll see I'm using a different yarn here because I played yarn chicken and I lost. Didn't have enough yarn to finish that, so I started this. Really interesting, I used the same size hook, yet it's sort of a different size overall because of the yarn. But anyway, the yarn I'm using now is this Summer Cloud Cotton Acrylic Blend by Hobby. It's very soft and lightweight and a little bit fuzzy, but not too fuzzy. And I thought it would look pretty for this because it sort of has this like a carved wood type vibe. And I've seen a lot of eternity signs carved into Armenian architecture. So I think it's a neat look, and it's very lightweight, so I think that when I hang it on my wall, that it will not warp. So let's begin arm number 8. We've done arms 1 through 7, and we have done, we finished up our last arm by creating a single crochet into the circle. And now we're going to start arm 8. And arm 8, the first 2 rows of arm 8, or say 3 rows really, the chain and then the other 2 rows, they're really the same. The only difference is the last row. So again, we chain 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oopsie. And 17. And once again, we find that back hump that's 2 stitches away from the hook. A little bit harder to find with this yarn. I'm going to get in there. And because this yarn is a little bit fuzzy, you know, it's a little bit trickier to work with. So it's probably good for me to do those other steps on that, easier to work with yarn. But I think the end result with this yarn is going to be really pretty. So put up with the fuzzy yarn. Put my stitch marker in that back hump just to make it easier to find. And I want to attach it to my previous arm. So I'm going to just flip it over to find it. Okay, and I'm going to count down starting from the first empty stitch, which is this one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one right here is the 10th stitch, and I'm going to insert my hook into both loops. Both loops are on the hook. I'm going to pull through a loop and slip stitch. Turn the work around again. Find that stitch marker, insert my hook where the stitch marker is. Work a single crochet, remove the stitch marker, work another single crochet into that same stitch, essentially creating an increase right there. And then I'm going to work one single crochet into the next hump and one single crochet into the next hump. And then I'm going to repeat that pattern just like before down the arm. So that's increase stitch, which is the 1, 2 single crochets in one stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the following stitch, and 1 single crochet in the following stitch. This yarn is trickier. I'm using my nails a little bit. Okay, and again, my little trick by saying increase, 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, just like before. Increase, 1, 2, and then I've only got 1 stitch left, and I do my single crochet in there, and then I anchor it into the next stitch of the circle. Okay. This yarn is not easy to work with, to be honest with you. Anyway, but it feels good, and I think it's going to be a neat finished project. So anyway, I anchored it with a single crochet, and I'm going to turn my work just like before and do 21 single crochets in the back loop only, just like before, up the arm. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Last stitch is always fidgety. You got to get way deep down in there and pull it up. Okay. Chain one, just like before, turn, work. Now this is the row where things are going to become different. Basically, we want to attach the eighth arm to the first arm. We start by working 12 single crochets into the back loop of each stitch down the arm. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So normally we would go down the entire arm, all 21 stitches, and we'd be done. But we need to attach. So it's really easy to do. We're just going to, here at the 12th stitch, we're going to grab the end of our first leg. This corner we want to attach to here. So how are we going to attach that? Well, with a slip stitch, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I want to just kind of grab the corner here and just kind of grab the corner. Actually, I want to go in from the front. Oops. Go in through the front of this stitch. Just kind of get it in there as close as I can to the end. Pull through a loop, slip stitch, pull the yarn end, and they are joined. Okay. Now they're joined, and I want to just sort of bring my yarn to the front. See this yarn here? Bring it to the front of the leg, and then grab my arm that I'm working on right now and continue. So you see right here was my last stitch that I worked. You can see that that loop is raised because I've worked it. I'm going to go to the next back loop right there, insert my hook, and work. Wait, is that a back loop? Nope, I got 2 loops, excuse me. Going to my next, I got to get the back loop. I didn't do the back loop, see? And I'm going to work a single crochet right there. And then I'm just going to continue down. It's another 9 stitches. So there's the next back loop. So here I've worked 3 stitches. I'm just going to stop here just to show you. So I joined right there. I joined the corner of the first arm to here, and now I'm just going to keep going down. Again, a little fidgety here, but you get the hang of it. And there's 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9. Brings us to the end of the arm. We worked 12. We connected, worked another 9. 12 plus 9 is 21. So we have all our 21 stitches. And now all we need to do is anchor into the ring here with a single crochet. Chain one, and we are done. I'm gonna oh, you know what, my husband took my scissors. So what I'm gonna do, I've got my little pouch here. I always keep nail clippers in my pouch just in case I need them. And I'm gonna yeah, so I'm gonna just use these nail clippers. Pull my yarn through. I will tie this in later. We're not done, but we are done with this portion of it. See, we should have like that. But there's still one more step that we need to complete. Okay, and that is, well, there's actually two steps, but there's at least one more step. And you'll see what I mean when we get there. So this step really is just to sort of join, like sort of reinforce around the circle to keep things a little bit more of a circular, tight shape. So it holds its shape better. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join the yarn. I like to create a slip knot. And where we're going to join the yarn is we're just going to grab any old leg and get to the top of it. And this first stitch here, we're going to insert our hook into the back loop of that stitch. See, here's the first loop and the second loop. Front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. We're going to go into the back loop of the first stitch at the top of the leg, any leg, and join our yarn. Okay, and then single crochet into that stitch. So now we've joined our yarn and we've single crocheted into that first stitch. Now we're going to put one single crochet into each back loop of each stitch across the arm, the upper portion of the arm, around this circle. Oh, by the way, this yarn also had a portion with a knot in it that just like the first yarn. I don't know what my luck is like today. It's weird, but anyway, we're not gonna be able to see it. So yeah, so we're gonna keep doing that. And basically we're gonna do this so we get 11 stitches across. When we get to the end, we will count, and there should be 11 stitches across. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, there's 11 stitches across. And now we're going to do work another single crochet into the stitch that is joining this join right here. There's a stitch right there where they're joined. I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch and work a single crochet. I'm going to chain one. Chaining one gives me height so that I can work across this next arm. So now I'm at the next arm, and I'm going to insert my hook into, again, the back loop of the first stitch and work a single crochet, and I should work 11 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then into this stitch that joins, and work another single crochet and chain 1 to give it height. And then come back up here and continue 11 stitches. And we just keep doing this all around. 11 stitches, 11 single crochets across, and then 1 into the joining space, chain 1, and continue. And we do this all around our entire project until we get to the beginning. I'll meet you back in a minute. Okay, so I've gotten to the end. I've gone all the way around the circle, and I worked my last single crochet into that joining space. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch at the top here, slip stitch, and I like to chain and tie off. Now, before I cut, well, I'll cut. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very large tail, several feet long, before I cut it. Now, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to explain why I did this. Okay, so I have a very large, long tail right now, and I'm going to do this because, all right, oops, sorry about that. So this is what we have now, which is pretty cool looking. It's, very similar to this. In fact, it's exactly this. If I didn't cut a long tail, this is what I would end up with, which is fine. It's just a little floppy, whereas this one feels a little more structured. The difference is that if you see here, you can unfold these legs, and whereas these, I have sewed the legs together, and it just forms like more of a firm border. And so right now, each of these is sort of flat. What happens is that the piece sort of curves eventually. Like when you shape it with your hands, these arms sort of curve into one another and they form a circle. But if I pinch them together, like see how it's a flat thing, but if I fold the tops and then sew them together, then it creates a stronger border, and I like the look of it. So how I do that, and if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. You just hide your ends like you would normally, and you'll end up basically with that. No worries. But I'm going to take a embroidery needle here. And show you what I mean. I've got a very long tail. So I'm like finishing the piece and tying in my ends at the same time. Now, I am not a fan of sewing at all, but I like this step, so I'm going to do it. Okay. So here's, I'm on the front, and you can tell the front versus the back. The back just has like a flatter look. You see more stitch definition in the front. So I'm going to go take this to the back. And I want to, basically I want to, okay, so here's the back, but here's the front. I'm kind of folding it, you see? And I'm going to fold this arm. And so here's the ends. I line up the ends, the edges, and I'm going to sew that. So, you know, just like you would like normally. And I like to sew the inside loop. Like here's the outside loop, here's the inside loop. Here's the outside loop and the inside. So I like to sew the inside loop to the inside loop. Just sort of line it up that way. Sewing them together. What is happening here? This is weird to do on camera because I can't see what's happening. Where's my end? What is going on? Ah, yeah, there it is. Okay. This is my original join here. I mean, you could do a whip stitch or stitch this way, back and forth. This is actually only my second time doing this step. I just figured out this step last night, and I was like, oh, that's so neat. I did a whip stitch last night. And here I'm just doing, I don't even know what this stitch is called. I am not a sewer by any means. But this is very simple. Sewing in these ends. There's that knot. Today's been my day of knots and yarns. You know, I don't normally get knots and yarns. I don't understand why today is the day for that, but so be it. So I like to sort of do a few stitches until I like to pinch it. And so maybe another one stitch here. You're kind of using your artistic ability here to sort of line it up. And so now that they're not really, when I lay it like that, eventually they don't come together as the edges. And at that point, you just want to be careful about that. At that point, you just, I'm not going to join them. I'm just going to continue to work the yarn around and just sort of go through this. Bitty bitty. I don't like sewing. Sewing is a drag, but it's a necessity. So basically, so now I'm here, and I want to get this yarn over to this one, because now that I've completed this, see how nice that looks? That is this versus this. So this is kind of open, whereas this is forced shut. Now I could pinch that and make it look shut, but it's not going to stay shut. There. It's not going to stay shut like this one's forced shut. This one can flop around. So it's really up to you. Do you like the floppy look? Do you want this to be hollowed out and looking like that? You might like that look. Or you might want it forced shut. It's really up to you. I'm going to just keep going through here. And, you know, so I've got to get this yarn over to here. So, you know, again, I'm sort of feeding two birds with one seed here. I'm tying in my ends while at the same time I'm sewing this in. Oh, this is so long. What am I doing? There. What happened? There we go. I guess I might have given myself too long of a thing. So I want to get it so that these are pinched here. So, let's see. It's so much easier to do off camera. I feel very slow. Almost there. So I'm working in the back of my work so that none of this is seen. Oops, don't want that in there. There we go. This yarn, this, what do they call it? Summer Cloud, is terrible to crochet with in the summer. There's my yarn review. Oh my gosh, my hand, it's June, and I turned off the air conditioner because it was loud, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want it to be on the video. So my hands are a little sweaty, and this yarn is really difficult to work with with sweaty hands. It's funny. Okay. So you see, yeah, it is fidgety right here for sure. But again, I just think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to get this all finished pretty like this. So now I'm back to the portion where, you know, if you lay it flat and you press it, then about this much gets sewn together and this doesn't. So you sew, and then you just sew on this side or here in the back of the work until you get to this. Again, I like to do the inside loop so that you don't really see it, and keeping things lined up is important. If I recall, it's about 7 or so. Let's see, this is 3. Four. 5. 6. 7. Let's see, there's 7. I think I think it's 8. Maybe 8. Maybe it's 8. 8 stitches. And then they part ways. So 8 stitches. And now I'm gonna not go through and just move across to the other end. Okay, so now I'm working across until I get back. Let's see, I think right here. All right, so now I am back where I can sew them together again. Let's see, like this, etc. Let's see. I don't know. There, etc., etc., etc. Go all the way around. This is, it's kind of a pain, but again, I just like the way it looks. I think it just has, like, these are the two that I sewed. It, you see? And you can feel it. It just feels more stiff. So I think that you can decide what you want to do. You can either just tie off and weave in your ends like you normally would, or you can, make that long tail and sort of carefully sew your way through. It's going to be a little fidgety, but I think totally worth it. Let me spend a few minutes on this off camera and I'll show you my finished work in a minute or so. All right, see you in a minute. And here it is. My Armenian eternity sign is complete. I have sewed all of the edges together so that it has a nice, more of a firm border that I think is going to hang up on my wall beautifully. I think it's going to keep its shape, very similar to this one. Again, you don't have to sew in your ends. I just think that that's a really nice step, even though I'm not a huge fan of sewing. Anyway, let me get this on the wall and see what it looks like. I'll be right back. And here it is. My Armenian eternity sign is complete and now hanging on my wall. I actually love this a lot. I'm very happy with how this one turned out, and I'm really happy with how it's kept its shape hanging on my wall for about 24 hours now. So I hope that you love your Armenian eternity sign as well, and that you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more videos like this, then please hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified. I do plan to make more videos and take this channel a little more seriously from now on. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you enjoy this video, then please give me a like so that more viewers on YouTube can be notified of its existence. Anyway, it's been such a pleasure spending this time with you. I hope that you all have a beautiful day and happy crochet.